Hello, everybody, and welcome back. It is the start of the third set of the day. It's going to be AG Legion versus Matt is Bad. I don't know who Matt is, but hopefully he's not that bad. My name is Illy, coming in for the last set of the day. Joining me once more, at least for the first game, is going to be Frog, the
Matt
legend.
Matt can't be that bad, right? He made it to finals, right? I mean,
True.
he can't be that bad. But yeah, I'm really excited for this set. I haven't seen as much of Matt is Bad, but I've definitely seen some games out of Legion, and let me tell you, they have showed a lot of improvement throughout this
Good.
year. They started off, and I was a little bit questionable with how they would improve, but they've been dedicated to the craft, and I'm really happy to see them in finals.
And then Frog, I'm not as familiar with exactly how the divisions work here, and maybe it's a bad question because everyone in chat might already know. But I know it was Legends, Spartans, and then this is the Savages division, right?
I think this is the Savages division. I'm pretty sure you're correct. And if I'm correct, I think it's a one above the Spartans division. Spartans
Okay.
was gold to plat, and I believe this is plat to diamond.
All right. So either way, I guess it doesn't matter because hopefully the two finalists in the league are on the same page. Starting off picks and bans nice and early. The Achilles and Discordia bands. I guess these teams must know each other because if I'm looking at that as somebody who watches a lot of SPL and SCC, those don't make sense to me. So this must be just team based.
Yeah, I completely agree. This is definitely looking like team-based bands, and I will correct myself. It looks like this is just purely a plat division, not quite in diamond. But these
Gotcha.
players are at the top of the plat division, so who knows? Hoping to see some good gameplay here. The next two bands do seem a little bit more on target. We've got a Cthulhu and a Freya come out, and finally we get a Persephone band. Last set we went 3 games without Persephone being picked or banned, so I'm glad that she gets at least a little bit of attention in this set.
Matt might be bad, but at least he knows that Persephone's really good. Let me tell you, as a player who plays front lines, Persephone is so annoying to deal with. Cripples are really powerful. We see Cupid popularized a lot, at least in the North America side of things, in SPL and then in the SCC. Though Europe doesn't pay as much attention to the Cupid pick. Regardless, cripple equals good, and any CC character can always be strong. As Yamoja, the last of perhaps the super strong picks, taken away, and a Raven locked in first. This has never been a bad pick, but is it really a first pick option?
I don't know. There's a lot of good things right now, right? Rama's up, Cupid's up, Nemesis is up. There's still Amaterasu is up. That was a little bit about what I was about to say. And Olorun is the next one on the list. And man, if I can get Olorun Amaterasu as my first picks, I am happy as can be. That is I'm not sure if the Robin first pick was I mean, maybe they've seen these picks, maybe they're okay playing against them, but this seems a little bit dangerous.
To be entirely fair, Robin is one of the characters that dives Oleron the best, right? I'm thinking Kuzenbo, I'm thinking Amaterasu, and I'm thinking Oleron, Robin as like my top 3 characters to go kill the enemy Oleron because lots of CC immunity in the kit, lots of disruption, and they get to run at him pretty effectively. So we'll see. Maybe the Kuzenbo is the next pick. That's at least what I would go for if I was on Matt is Bad here. But that is maybe a bit more of a pocket pick for SPL. Maybe it hasn't quite gotten to this point. Oh, Hercules, by the way, also a good character.
Yeah, Hercules and Cupid is the last, second.
That's a dangerous lane, do you think?
Definitely not bad. That is a kill lane in duo. Now, we might see the Cupid go mid. We did see the Cupid mid last game, but that is unlikely, as we do not have the mage ADC to force him over to that mid lane. But yeah, Cupid Hercules is some pressure over there in the duo lane. And let me tell you, the Hercules and the Ravana as part of the mid 3v3, I'm not even sure it matters what mid lane you pick. That's going to be a kill lane as well.
Right, yeah, that's true. Both of the roaming characters, the roaming roles, support jungle on Matt is Bad here, are certainly in a good position to make an impact around the map because, as you mentioned, they go somewhere and that buff is theirs, wherever they decide to rotate to. Fafnir locked in. Now, I'm looking at this top 3 picks by the Legion team, and that looks like a lot of dead NPCs.
Yeah, that is that's definitely a really good objective shred. You have the damage and the attack speed buff coming out of Fafnir. You have the Olorunal to speed yourself up and slow the objective down. And you have the Amaterasu to give everybody more percent damage and more power in a circle. And so it's definitely not bad.
Good?
The other, it's pretty good. It's good. The other thing that this tells me, though, with the Fafnir pick, is that they are looking for a hunter in the mid lane. And so the double ADC is going to be even better for the objective shred comp. And so I am looking. I've seen a little bit of AMC here in the SPL. I think it's a horrible pick here into the Robin and the Hercules. It's the first thing that comes to mind. Maybe we'll see an Uller. I feel like we should be seeing more Uller. It's weird to me. Uller is like always good on paper, but I feel like I am not seeing him picked at all right now.
Uller's kind of scary into the Robin, Hercules, Cupid. Is maybe not there. I was kind of thinking Heimdall, but for the same reasons. You could also just go another magical character here. Like Poseidon's a good pick here. Cripple, again, like I already talked about, Cripple's good. It's good with your Fafnir. It does a lot of damage. It's good objective burn. It kills towers better than most other mages, and Oron does that pretty well too. So I'll be really interested to see what late Legion picks up here, because I think there's a lot of really good options.
Yeah, they definitely don't need to go a hunter. You have a really great point. They don't even need to go an attack. They go the hunter. As I'm saying, they go the Medusa, which is actually not what I was expecting. Once again, we have we do have some CC immunity on the Medusa, which makes it better than the Uller, I think, in terms of just surviving, right? And I think also into Cupid, and in fact, that's a really good point. We might just see the Uller run mid here instead of the Uller run ADC. Put the Medusa over there in that long lane.
Maybe we'll see some switching around frantically to see which characters go where to try to get the matchup the players like. Merlin is the next hover here. It's not quite locked yet, but that's a strong pick here as well. You're never going to complain about a Merlin. Shinto, of course, has shown that character is still viable in the current in his current iteration in SPL. And Vamana is the lock for.
I don't like the Merlin very much. I don't know. I think, look, it's a good character, and I think that he's going to provide a lot when it comes to team fights. But I think if you look at the enemy team, it's so incredibly obvious that they have an objective shred comp with bad secure. So I think you take advantage of that, and you go a top mid laner with fantastic secure, and you just make it impossible to, you have to close the window for them to shred objectives as much as they want to. It's sort of what I'm looking for. As we see a Serket last pick out of Legion.
Serket's scary, but the Cripple does. Okay, so when I look at Serket, I look at the enemy mid and the enemy hunter, because that's pretty much all you're going on. Yep. You're not going to win very many assassin 1v1s as a Serket. And I'm trying to figure out, does the Serket get to dive them effectively?
Well,
and against the Merlin Cupid, I realize that it's into the Vamana, and that might be good for a laning phase. It's also good into the Hercules for maybe picking a frontliner. But I'm just a little afraid of how the Serket's going to do in a dive. So I'm worried that the Serket might be relegated to just picking off frontliners, which, don't get me wrong, might be good.
Right. No, that's a valid point. And I think that one thing to keep an eye on here is how 5-on-5 these team fights are truly going to get, right? We see some games that really rely, some teams, that really rely on this Ulla run and its ability to drop that ult and fight everything's in the Ulla run ult, period. You know, some teams do that, but other teams, they're going to drop the Ulla run ult aggressively and they're going to take the fight as the enemy team runs away. Or they'll drop the Ulla run ult defensively and try and counter-engage it. And they leave the jungler and the Amaterasu potentially to do what they do outside of the fight. And so I think it's really going to depend on the team fight style here. But I think that overall, looking at the drafts, I think that I do have to give it to Legion with the better draft as long as they can make it through the early game.
You say make it through the early game. I say meet Hercules, and I am scared. And I think Mad is Bad's team can easily compete with Legion's squad. This is going to be an interesting game, Frog. Before we're able to get into the game here, should be Shred, and both of these teams have fun team fights to watch. So I'm interested to see how this one goes.
I'm really excited. And it does look like we are going to see, I think that is an Ulla run mid. I think we might have those characters mixed up. on the right side, but Oleron is starting at the speed buff, so that tells me I think he is going to be mid lane. And so I think that's pretty interesting, and that's kind of what we predicted. It puts the Medusa over here in this long lane, which is going to be a little bit more safe as she tries to survive. But it's been a while since I've seen Medusa, and it looks like the Medusa is starting the Devos. So not the trans. I feel like you can go either way on Medusa, but I'm glad she went to Devos. I think that starts a lot stronger right now.
Devos, yeah, I agree. Devos have been certainly the meta. There's a few characters that do pick up the transcendence, but that's the way it's going to go in this game. It's going to help you trade into the Cupid. Double camp start coming out for Legion, and the quick lane start for the Cupid Herc kill lane, which certainly makes sense. I'm guessing Megat, the Hercules, is Matt. So we'll see if he's actually bad.
That's my guess too. And we're going to get a chance to see him in the next 15 minutes. He's going to be the one on this team, I think, that's really trying to make things happen. And so, we see the start from him. Pretty typical, not going for anything super aggressive. I don't even think he got the spirit minion, or at least he didn't do anything with it. But yeah, that dual lane seems pretty chill right now. Not even any fighting coming out at all. It looks actually like the dual lane on the side of Legion went directly from purple buff to their Harpy in order to not get it stolen.
Maybe a little red invade. Here's some action. Driving strike just off the mark as Serket's going to be able to squiggle her way out of there, but a red buff still on the menu for Legion's team. So one invade dealt with coming out of the red squad.
Yep, that's a good look. That is definitely a good look. They are able to not only survive there, but they are able to secure their own red buff. And they're taking this into account, right? They brought the Fafnir over for that red buff. They were safe. They did not prioritize getting the red buff over their lives, right? They made sure they survived there, and they got the Harpy over and left. They're ready for this pressure that Mad is Bad is going to bring out in the next 15 minutes, and this bodes well for them to be able to, I think, shred objectives. Not only in the early game, but potentially find those windows late game if they get there not behind.
Blink on cooldown still for the Hercules player, but two other blinks in the game on the side of Mad is Bad. Scandals decided to go for a blink over the teleport in the lane against Amaterasu. So we'll see how that one works out as a little pluck action. Heart bomb off the mark as the Fafnir is pushed back into the wave. A little more poke action in the duo lane.
A lot of poke action here. The other poke action that we sort of see is over in the solo lane, as both characters are about 75% HP, but I don't think this is going to give anybody any advantage. And I kind of brought us over here because I wanted to talk about the matchup a little bit. A lot of the teams, when they see Amaterasu, their game plan becomes, okay, let's play through solo, let's put the Amaterasu in the ground, right? She can be such an aggressive pick if she gets going. She has all this rotational ability, she has all of this team fight prowess, but so I would think that they would want to not give her that ability as the mid game, because you're not winning a mid 3v3 if it becomes a 3v4 with Amaterasu ult.
True.
I'm not sure if Amana's really the pick to do that. It seems like they picked this Amana just to have the ult for the Oleron ult, and I'm not sure they took into account this actually how this matchup goes.
Let's see what happens. Here comes the mid lane. Sanctified Fields might be available. There it is. Robin unable to get the kill as the Merlin flickers in. Actually, Shin Zuzu getting out of there as Slate Biscuit on the Serket deals some damage to both characters in return. A lot of flashy, but not a lot. A lot of bark, but not a lot of bite. As I mixed my metaphors very poorly. A little blink invade on the red again, but once more defeated by Legion.
Yep, it looks like Herc is going to try to get out of here. I'm not sure if he'll be successful. They don't have a lot of damage on this Medusa, and she misses all three of those poison.
There's four of them. She missed four of them.
She missed all four of them. Oh my goodness, and they're not able to clean that up. As a result, if Medusa had the stun to root and had those basics to slow him, they might have been able to get that kill, but Herc gets away with more pressure on the red buff, but they've gotten it both times. I'm interested to see, maybe they shouldn't keep going for this. Maybe they should try putting pressure on the purple buff or the blue buff and trying to get something going elsewhere.
For sure. I think a blue buff could be definitely in the cards for the Mad is Bad team here. because as we're talking about, right, their roaming characters, the Rav and Hercules, certainly put out a lot of pressure wherever they would like to go. And as you mentioned, the Amaterasu could be a scary character if she's able to get a lead and rotate before the Vamana opposition. So absolutely getting your soul laner a lead could work out well.
Yep, they have not been able to get anything going here, and I think that's exactly what Legion want. If there's 0 kills on the board in 15 minutes,
they're happy.
I think they're happy, right? I think it's definitely in their favor. And so I really need to see Herc and Ravana. It feels like Ravana's just been farming. The one who's trying to be aggressive is Herc, and unfortunately he hasn't been successful. But I need Ravana to be here as well, one of the more early game junglers. And Serket is, I don't know, I hesitate to call her early or late, but she does different things. As Oloran is in some trouble here.
Push out mid as Draconic Form comes out from the Fafnir. Hasn't used the leap away yet, so he'll be able to escape. Sanctified Field was not forced because it's still on cooldown. No relics forced out of the mid lane. More aggression from Matt is bad with no success once more. Going for another solo invade is Matt, though. He'll be successfully zoned away. That's the last breath. Can he get the passive auto? No, he can't. He's so fast. Ambush over the wall. He's still 1 HP. The shell does so much, and Solar Shield drops the elbow for first blood as Shinzizu takes the second blood onto Snek Burrito. These names are hilarious, by the way. Red buff still available, and the violence was unable to come away with an invade, but still first blood onto the aggressive early game team.
They do manage to get that. They trade 1 for 1, right? And so they're even in gold, and they trade mid laner for jungler, so it's generally a pretty even trade. But here's my thing, okay? Herc came so incredibly close to dying, and he's going into a Gauntlet of Thebes, which, while is a good item, takes a minute to get actual protections online. If Herc does that again and again, he's just going to die again and again. He needs to learn his lesson right there and not just hand the enemy free kills.
Good CC immunity there by Tekio on the Medusa to dodge out the pluck from Matt. But yeah, I mean, as we were talking about earlier during the drafting phase, as we're loading into the game, Slate Biscuit has a tough game because he can't really dive the Cupid Merlin super successfully, but picking off frontliners could certainly be an option for him. And if the Hercules, like you mentioned, builds a lot of health, the Serket passive is going to punish that quite effectively.
Yeah, it absolutely will. It's a really good point. And I think, once again, we might see a Kins come out here that's been really popular on the Medusa. We might even see her go the Bobo as well. Wow, good. Almost. It's honestly a good blink and a good jump. Like, good by both of them, I think. But unable to finish that kill. But I like it, right? I like him looking for the aggression, right? He's just, it's got to come through at some point. And maybe at some point they'll find an opening, and that'll get him the Gold Fury, and this game will skyrocket out of control. But, you know, man, this is... so far, it's a very slow game, and with these comps being the way they are, I did not necessarily expect that.
Is this a European league by any chance? This is very, very slow. 2 kills in 8 minutes seems like we're watching one that's in for the long haul. But once we get there, I mean, we keep kind of beating this dead horse, but I guess we'll mention it one more time as a little 1v1. I think Oloron's always going to take the better end of that one. Certainly expect AG Legion, at least in the objective department, to win, but team fights could go a different way.
Yeah, I think we are getting close to that point, though, where Ama is going to sort of match what the enemy is trying to do, right? Ama has now gained a level lead over this Vamana, and she's going into an aggressive item in Berserker Shield, right? And so I think she's going to be able to rotate over relatively soon here and really make an impact in these fights as they start to happen. And so I think we're already past the point where Matt is bad, might have missed a window, and Matt might, in fact, be bad.
Unfortunate for Matt, is Slate Biscuit's going to visit the duo lane. Good warding, going to poke this one out. Here comes the rotation. A missed Herc driving strike as Lacerate is away for Tekio. Gold Fury probably not on the cards for any other team unless you happen to have double auto attack Fafnir at 9.5 minutes in the game. I'm a little surprised they don't try to force a Pyro or a Gold.
Yeah, I think that they definitely could have by this point. Pyromancer is about to come up. I think that might be on the cards. I think for what Pyromancer does not get looked at defensively or ward vision wise nearly as much as how Gold gets looked at in the first 10 to 20 minutes of the game. And so I think that if they're looking to steal away an objective, Pyromancer would be a good start to at least force the enemy on the back foot of things. As Herc is in a kind of an awkward spot right now. I guess they were trying to force out the Amaterasu, but he walked over a ward, and so they are more than aware of it.
Still pretty even, though. I think we're pointing out like small leads. Amy probably has like a half-level lead. Enforcer does over Scandal. Is actually a pluck comes out. More Circuit Cobra kisses. There's the Robin last breath onto him. Sanctified Field comes out as well. There's the Boulder. It's not quite a home run as Amaterasu's made the rotation and one dead in the mid lane. Snack Burrito falls and it's a 1 for none.
Well, I mean, it's not the kill I was expecting a kill early game to go the other way, if anything, and it looks like we still might have some aggression here in the mid lane, and they're probably going to try and catch out this Cupid, if anything. But as he dashes away, this might make for a good Gold Fury chance, but Ama doesn't want the Gold Fury. She wants to kill, and Herc and Vamana have pushed past, and now they're in a 2v3 of their own as Cupid's trying to follow up the damage. Vamana might be a little bit too far forward.
Scandal's still full HP, got a little shield action going on, but there's the stun, and he'll be able to clear the path away. Hercules blinks in, there's the Petrify coming out from Techios, maybe a tier 1 tower push, as 5 men are grouped from both teams in the mid lane. It's 11 minutes into the game. This game was slow and just turned into a lot of damage and not a lot of kills.
Yeah, they did force the Hercules to back, though, and that means that they're sitting around this Gold Fury in what looks to be a 5v4. Actually, it's a 4v3 right now until Olaran and Ravana get over here. But it doesn't look like they're going to go for the Gold Fury just yet. Looks like they're going for the fight instead, and they at least want this purple buff, or at least Circuit does. But looks like they're going to give that up, think better of it, take a small reset as they get the red buff and back to buy some items. But I think that might have been the opportunity they were looking for, but you know what? I can't even say anything because it's really only going to get better.
Oren's beads are still down for a minute and a half, so I'm going to be interested to see if Legion are able to take advantage of something like that. But yes, like you mentioned, this is probably advantageous for Legion to do not to do nothing, but to the status quo is fine for their team in this situation. However, I am interested. The Fields of Love, I think, can maybe win team fights for Mad is Bad in a late game. There's lots of characters that it would punish.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's not a very good comp into that Fields of Love. That cripple definitely does mean a lot. That being said, though, I mean, if we're focusing on how Fields of Love can impact a team fight, Olarenal can impact a team fight even better, right? And so it's really going to be on, I think, who engages first. There was a game in the last set where we were really focused on whoever counter-engages this set is probably going to be winning these fights. But I think it might be the opposite here, as the team we weren't thinking about is going to go and sneak away the Pyromancer.
Hey, I guess the triple... I know my Hui triple bounces, but Frog, do you know your Hercules Boulder triple bounces? Matt sure does. That did a lot of damage, helped them secure that Pyromancer early on. Matt is Bad now has a slight lead, maybe a little less than we would expect, but this is still a game, certainly, that they can take advantage of. Ambush over the wall. Oh, he got both of them. Slate Biscuit coming in and stealing Matt's lunch money on those mid camps.
Yeah, definitely a little bit unfortunate there, but I would take the Pyromancer over the mid camps, I think, any day of the week. But now it's a question of who's going to get this Gold Fury. Herc might walk around. Oh man, that was close as he walked around the corner a little bit too far. But they might look to start this up. They're going to have all 5 members here, and Vamana is not here. So this is going to be a 5v4. Slate Biscuit looking to zone some people out. Herc does not have ult for this steal, and they get it as Herc goes into the back line. He doesn't have blink or push now. He's probably going to fall.
Ooh. Drops the elbow, does shoulder shield as he will kill one. Snack Burrito gets one as well, as Matt will falls the first one in. Shinzu gets 2 as Thoron cleans up the Olaron. It's a 3-4-2 in favor of Matt is Bad at this point. Lots of work done by Solar Shield. I can't say that name apparently in that fight, as it might continue here. Techio and Enforcer are still pretty healthy, and a split push Scandals means it's 2v2 on the left-hand side.
That was a really good fight. A better fight than I thought it would be for Mad is Bad. I think that they go in, they try to steal the Gold Fury, and it turns out that they focused the Herc, but Herc isn't as isn't as like susceptible as he thought. He had some stacks on his Thebes there, wasn't able to fall as quickly, and that allowed Solar Shield to get in there and do the damage that he needed to do. But I think that Legion, it comes out about even, right? They trade 2 for 3 in a Gold Fury. That alone is on Legion's side, but then they lose that mid-tier 1 tower, and they might lose this tier 1 tower in the right. But I don't know if Serket's going to come over here and try and fight this Vamana.
The tower might be on the way out. I don't know if Scandals ever dies here. Slate Biscuit might think otherwise, though. Good silence on the dash. Cobra's Kiss hits. Do we see the last breath? It's just going to be the Colossus form coming out there for Scandals. Slate Biscuit's still around. I don't know if there's a fight opportunity here. Tekio's backing in left lane, but there is a grouping around this Fire Giant. Maybe Legion looks for a fight or a sneak fire play here?
Yeah, I mean, it does look like they're in a weird spot right now, and they're in the enemy jungle as Fafnir ults, and is looking for the jump into it, but instead, Ama's zoning these carries out, and they're going to go on Herc. He takes 25% of his HP, is down to that, and he dies while the Ama is zoning out the enemy carries. Good play from Ama, good play from the enemy, from Legion to properly focus those targets, as they might try to catch Merlin out. Nope, he does have his tier 1 tower, as Jinzizio does not. But they might look to change that right now if they can push this down. They do have an ADC in the mid lane, so there might be an inkling of a possibility here, but it looks like they're going to go for a red invade instead. Fafnir's going to try to solo this?
Maybe just try to yoink it away real quick. Nope, he's running away.
Maybe he's going over to Cupid, who's in the lane and sees him coming, is very on top of it as he dashes away, but Go ahead.
Something that gets me here, Frog, maybe you're seeing something I'm not. But both Hercules and Vamana in this game, and actually Robin as well, they've all gone for this very health-centric build. But in fact, the only percent health damage that we see coming out of Legion is in Serket's kit. It's Catalyst, her passive, that gives her bonus damage after getting stacks of her abilities on a particular character. Do you think there's a particular reason Tekio is favoring this crit build on Medusa over the Chin's build in this game?
Nope. You're not.
All right, fair enough.
You're not missing.
Moving on.
You're not missing anything, okay? Because those are all the right points. There's absolutely no reason for him to be going crit. Now, granted, it's not out of this world, right? The whole crit does better into gods with a lack of procs, right? Because it's not pen, and it's just flat damage, and so it does better into people that have less procs. And granted, if you choose health, that means that you have less procs. So it's not like there's no reason to be going crit. It's not, out of this world, but at the same time, Kins is just like infinitely better, I think, in that spot. And so maybe he goes the Rage and he just goes the Rage. Maybe he finishes Kins right after this and he goes Silver Branch with the Medusa attack speed increase on her 1. There's things that she could do to salvage this build, and it's not even a horrible build. No. Salvage is not the right word, but
and that's kind of where I was going, because with Wind Demon and Poison Star both giving attack speed, crit and Kins is not bad. It was never bad. People just didn't like it because it didn't look pretty. and you can still just slam a Kins next if you're Tekio. You can slam Kins into Wind Demon. Maybe a little Pyromancer action though. Scandal, he's in the thick of it. Maybe a little no CC though, so I guess the Vamana will walk away relatively unscathed. Still a little poked, but Cupid Heart should fix that one right up.
Yep, that healing. That healing is going to come out, and a lot of people misconstrue that, or at least don't value it as much as it should be. I mean, I don't think we see any anti-heal coming out of the side of Legion at all. Yeah, that's true. No anti-heal coming out of them just yet, and we have a Hercules.
Other than Serket ult,
other than the
Serket ult and the upgraded anti-heal relic.
Oh, they do have Ankh. That's my mistake, because they are going to go for this.
Oh my gosh, they want to kill him.
Wow, he just dies instantly, and they do manage to secure it. And Vamana's up there as well, and he's got the Thorns and his ult, but Ankh is popped, and he might die for it as well. but it does
There
look
goes
like
the excavate.
is going to die as well. And Alma hits a 2-man ult, and they're going to look to carry that ult into killing the Cupid, and they do manage to do so. And Serket is weak on the backline, but Herc might be the first one to fall. They are chasing this down to the tier 2 tower as Merlin is going to fall as well. That is a 3-for-1 and the Gold Fury. Big win by Legion.
Yeah, I mean, Solar Shield tried to get in there and steal it, but stealing the objectives does not a team fight make, as a wise man once said, and it was me, right now. Because even though you might have a chance to steal away the objective, and he even got like quadra ulted, it still doesn't mean you're going to be able to win the team fight off the back of it when you were the only one there, and he kind of got exploded, I guess.
Yeah, he got exploded. Herc also got exploded, and he might get exploded here as well.
Goodbye.
Yeah, unfortunate for him, just sticking around a little bit too long after the tier 1 tower. Vamana, for some reason, is chasing this without an ultimate. Oh, okay, it just came up.
I guess they can't kill him, right? So
yeah, that makes it a little bit better. But you know, that's a huge win for Legion, and it shows in the gold lead, but not as much as I originally thought. I mean, it's only a 2,500 gold lead or so right now, and that's not going to guarantee them to win fights. They're not going to have a massive item difference. Can we look at the XP charts real quick? It doesn't seem like they have a massive lead either, because, yeah, in fact, the XP difference is only 3,000, right? So just about the gold difference as well. And so I'm not sure they're going to be able to... They still need to be careful in these fights. They're not so far ahead where they can just walk at the enemy team just yet. So I think discipline needs to be a key factor here.
Relics will also be a key factor, so it'll be interesting to see how this fight is taken with some relics being burnt after that last fight. The Kurstonk, of course, back up, as is the Thorn. There's a blink, there's the Excavate, does some damage to the backline, but his team's not there yet. Pyromancer yoinked away by the Vamana in the big baby form, but he is alone, and he is getting battered. Merlin damage over the top, as the Robin might look for a play here as well. Lots of blood, 4 ults, nothing else.
For it. Yeah, just, you know, a bunch of ults, a bunch of failure to get a pick on that, and they do lose the Pyromancer. Once again, I don't think it's a good idea to fight over the Pyromancer, but they didn't get anything off it, and now they're going to try to. It seems like they're trying to maybe bait the enemies to walk back into this Fire Giant and trying to get a pick, but nobody's walking up far enough for Meta's bad that they've been able to do it so far, and it looks like they're going to hop on this Fire Giant as a result.
Enforcer and Slate Biscuit can certainly look for Thorin here because he doesn't have any relics for the moment. But it seems like it's a full commit onto the Fire Giant. Merlin abilities over the wall don't quite get as a good kickflip from the Hercules, pushed back into a lot. There's the last breath, trying to get him to pop on his teammates. And Slate Biscuit will follow the Heart Bomb over the wall. Shizinzu manages to get another kill. I say weird things every time I cast Smile. And that is a 1-for-1, but the Fire Giant goes to the Legion team, so I'm sure they'll be happy.
1-for-1 fire on both ADCs with a Fafnir too, and that is a recipe for disaster if you were the enemy team. And it does look like they're going to force the Vamana ult out, but they can just back up for 15 seconds, let this out, and then just get the tier 2 tower, right? I mean, they just keep playing disciplined. I think is what I would say, and they just keep doing their thing.
Huge fields of love coming out of Solar Shield. Is going to go for the dive, but no follow-up as his team's going to be forced away. No relics again. No, Thorin's Aegis is back up, but still no beads from him at least, so stepping up will be scary. There's the Excavate, but unfortunately at 23 minutes, it doesn't do that much, as there's the Sanctified Field going to force away this fight, as Tekio will kill the Raven on the backside. Maybe a Phoenix push here as well. Stun comes out onto the Vamana in the front line.
And they still have the Fafnir out for a couple more seconds, and they're going to go in with it. He jumps in, but he's going to be able to get that 2 off onto his teammates, and Herc is doing a fantastic job of distracting, and they might win the fight after this. Cupid dashes into 4 people, and he's going to die for it. They do trade 1-for-1, but you got to remember that Solar Shield's also dead, and now Merlin is dead as well, and Vamana looks to be next on the menu. Oh, fantastic blink from him, but it's not going to save the Phoenix. Wow.
Those are the Thorin. Those are the bad guys. Sorry, I just had to get that one off my chest.
dash. I don't know about that Cupid dash. Maybe it was a misclick. I just got
think
word
it
in the
has to be,
headset.
right? He must have been like trying to 2, and
Yep.
he just fat fingered his 3 or something, because
Yep.
that man just yeeted on in there, and Slate Biscuit said, "Oh yes, thank you, I will take this."
Yeah, I think they were going to finish the Fafnir regardless, but even if you weren't, it's not a good trade at all. And so they do end up getting the Phoenix off of that, but to be fair, they might have gotten it anyways, right? I mean,
Sure,
double
yeah,
hunter Fafnir,
probably.
but regardless, now the fire is generally going to fall off, right? I don't think they're going to be able to make another organized push. They have 60 seconds, right? So then maybe they will be able to, but I think the play here is to push up a little bit. Maybe you can get a pick. This Vamana has been playing super aggressive. He continuously walks at them and ults, and they have yet to be able to shred him through his ult, even with a cursed Ankh. And so I think that we're getting to the point now where Vamana has to be careful because they're going to be able to shred him at this point, right?
Okay, I know.
Go ahead.
I know SSB is not here because he's eating lunch at 1 a.m. for him. However, I have to say this one for him. It's almost like Scandal is playing this game as if he's colossally furious at the enemy team. Here comes the Amaterasu dash and the dazzling offensive with the shield. You don't get to run from that, Thorin. And there goes Enforcer, enforcing the Cupid back into his own fountain, and that's a 4v5. Here's the pick, running it down the right-hand side. Dashing in is the Fafnir. There's the ult, Petrify on the side. Merlin, no actives. He got exploded. There's the Thorn spot, but that just won't do it, folks. That's a Sanctified Field. The aggressive play doesn't end. Who needs the Phoenix? They get the Titan.
Yeah, wow, that was a dominant performance of a fight from Legion. At that point, I guess they did have a big enough a lead to just walk at the enemy. At least Enforcer did, because that Cupid did not stand a chance. And so we did talk about how they first picked the Robin and they let through the Olorun and the Amaterasu, and Amaterasu is what ran that fight right there. And I think that this draft has to be definitely better. I think it has to be better prioritized, or alternatively, it has to be utilized to its fullest extent. I want to see Hercules and Robin being more successful in their attempts to do those things in the early game. And I think that they could have been 100%. I didn't see Robin doing those things nearly as much as I wanted them to be. And so I think that if they're going to look to come back in this game too, they have to focus on the draft and play to their strengths, or they have to adapt to what they're picking.
Yeah, absolutely agree with you there, Frog. I couldn't have said it better myself, so I won't try to. I guess we'll get things set up for Game 2 in a moment. Do you have any last thoughts before we start getting Game 2 set up?
I do want to give some massive props to the Fafnir. I really think the Fafnir is not necessarily a fantastic pick right now, and I think that they picked it specifically for the double hunter comp, and I think that he was hitting most of his hammers, and I think that he used his twos perfectly, and you saw it, right? You saw him consistently. He would ult, and he would save his dash for when they collapsed on him. He didn't get overzealous. He didn't just throw all his CC at one enemy. He would consistently utilize it for survival, and I think that was a critical part to how they weren't overcommitting on these team fights.
All right, Game 1 done for the Savages final, and we'll get moving on Game 2. I guess here in a minute. I'm not quite sure if we're throwing it to a break or not.
We are throwing it to a break.
All right, so we'll throw it to a break then, and we'll be back in a minute. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Game 2. I'm still here, unfortunately. My name's Illy, and we've had a slight change of cast. Frog had to step away, so alongside me for this one is going to be Glacier88.
And to
the
echo
man from
Illy's
chat
words, I
himself.
apologize.
But we are here directly in game. You might be saying, you seem to have skipped the picks and bans. And to that I tell you, there were some technical issues when making the game, so we have gotten through that. Straight into the lobby. On one side, Enforcer on Cthulhu, Slate Biscuit going to run it back on Hunmots, no Circuit this time. Shinzizu on the Thoth in the mid lane. DJ L4 on the Yamoja Tekio, playing back the Medusa. And on the left-hand side, Thoron switches from Cupid to go over to Ram. Matt goes away from Hercules to Ganesh. Sneck Burrito, whose name I love, picks Agni. Solar Shield runs it back on the Robin that looked pretty good in the first game. And Scandal97 switches from the Vamana pick over to Cullen. Glacier, early game, fast mode, who wins?
I think the draft is a lot better from Mad is Bad this time. It's a lot more cognizant. It's a lot more, they have their own complements rather than the enemy team needing to play into them. I think Mad is Bad have the ability to take team fights if they can deal with Cthulhu. That's the thing. If they can deal with Cthulhu Yemo, they can take the team fights. If Cthulhu gets to do whatever he wants to and bully the backline, it's going to be a stomp for Legion.
So Mad is Bad maybe has a bit of a late game difficulty because there's two major ultimates on Legion's team that they're going to have to deal with. Maybe a Sunder, maybe a Phantom, maybe something in between, maybe a little anti-heal relic coming from Mad is Bad. Whatever they choose to go, it will be interesting for sure to see if they can deal with a little bit of poke, but I don't think there's any kill potential yet. Both shells still available for both supports in the duo lane. This is going to be interesting, though. Solar Shield, and, well, for that matter, Slate Biscuit as well, neither of them really got things off to a roll in game number 1. I think First Blood is like 10 minutes or something crazy. So it'll be interesting to me to see if it takes as long to get the ball rolling to explode into another 25-minute game, or if this one's a little quicker.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely think both teams are going to want to play to their 5s. Both teams are going to want to get those big ultimates online, play with them, and go from there. So if it does get off to a little bit quicker of a start, I think it's going to be due to the grouping differences rather than anything else. But speaking of an earlier start, we've got a little bit of pressure coming out here in the solo lane. But Dash was still up and Force are going to be out just about for free. And everyone just goes back to their farm rotations.
Slate Biscuit there, or Solar Shield rather, looking for maybe a blue play, but Enforcer with the dash available is able to escape without much problem, just playing around Scandal's transform, as the mid camps will be secured and the blue secured at the same time by Slate Biscuit. No need for a jungler, though. Cthulhu notoriously struggles to kill his own buff. Cucullin has no such issue.
Yeah, absolutely. And on top of that, Cucullin doesn't necessarily need the blue buff. Mostly for him, the blue buff is about XP. And so that's not something that they're going to be too terribly concerned about. He'll be able to pick it up when he gets to it. Not too much pressure coming out early from Legion on this blue side. Looks like they're going to be trying to keep that pressure around the Yamoja or around the poke that this Thoth has to offer.
Shinzizu hanging out in mid lane as DJ's hanging out in duo lane still. Neither support has left. I would imagine that supports would start rotating once they get their first backs off, once they start to get their Guardian's Blessings fully stacked. Those kinds of.
If we could take a look at Golden Hand, I think it's 2. That would be, yeah, I think both of these supports are sitting on their backs and just, kind of getting the whole one more wave mentality at this point. Both of these supports could, either continue to duke it out over here or start rotating.
Nobody's backed in duo lane though, Glacier. So neither duo lane has any kill pressure. Even at 5, I think neither.
What did you not understand about one more wave?
Yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily bad, I guess, if neither team is looking for any aggression on this side of the map. If you can track the junglers and they're not there and the junglers haven't backed for their spikes. Speak of the devil, though, Slate Biscuit's waiting on a corner around the Gold Fury. Maybe a little fear, no evil. Matt might be first blood, but a missed monkey bounce means that man gets to walk.
And Snick Burrito's going to be enough to make sure there's no further follow-up. Good rotation over from him. Good play, coming out. Slate didn't quite have the boots finished, though. And now aggression
drops
from
the elbow.
Solar Shield.
Slate Biscuit goes down. Here comes the Yamoja ult trying to trap the Raven in their final judgment. Signs his name in blood, but the junglers both go down, but the first blood on side Matt is bad.
And that'll be pretty big to keep that away from the Hunbots, to keep that away from like a Thoth. That's pretty big for Matt is bad. However, I think it's going to be really interesting to see, because both of these junglers and both of these supports are going to be very impactful. I think both teams are trying to sit on the other team's front line. So what is the response to this?
Sit on the front line? Well, I mean, kind of depends on which frontliner you are, right? If you're Yamoja, you're probably not in the front line, so that's going to be from the Cthulhu's perspective. If you're Ganesh, you might be in the front line, but again, that's probably on the Cucullin. So it kind of depends on what abilities are used, what order they're used in, but generally, you probably don't want to Hunbots ult the front line in the 5-man fight, but looking for picks, absolutely.
Absolutely, and that's, I think, what we're going to be seeing here. Both teams really kind of, I don't want to say passive, but both teams content to scale right now. I think they both recognize that strengths are very much, team fight based. And I have noticed from the couple times I've seen Matt is bad, this is something that they like to do as a unit. It seems most of the time that their only really aggressive player is Snick Burrito in this mid lane. Everyone else seems very content usually to just farm it out. And AG Legion responding in kind. Huge Yummo ult though.
Full Omi on Yamoja, and she gets to regenerate all that resource. Huge Fear No Evil off the back, and Final Judgment hits as well. Stun just off the mark as Solar Shield drops the elbow, and the Ganesh ult adds to the shred. DJ falls down in trade for Snick Burrito. Support for mid, you're screaming worth.
Absolutely, and for Matt, though, he could have, you'd think there's a potential they could kill him there. Then you look down at the bottom of your screen and you see he's got reinforced, he's got shield, and he's already started on his gauntlet. I love that choice from him to go for this reinforced boots. Gonna be very impactful in those pick scenarios against the Hunbats.
And of course, reinforced did get buffed recently. They added some more health to that item because it wasn't getting picked up. Too much emphasis on the warrior and power boots and the cooldown boots, and the boots are really, really good, so you have to make them really, really good in order for them to see some play. Matt over here for a purple buff, as is Solar Shield. If Tekyo's not careful, he might get caught out, but back to the wave goes the Sneck, and 1 HP in mid is actually Shinzizu. Dude, that name gets me every time. I try to say it, and then I think I'm gonna fumble it every single time.
We usually just call him Shin.
Yeah, but then I feel like
yeah.
he's like naming a part of my body, right? Like he's my shins. I wear shin guards when you play soccer,
pretty
right?
big. What do you think about this Book of Thoth? I mean, obviously on one hand, you're playing Thoth, so you just have to build Book of Thoth, right? But like on the other hand, it's a little bit odd to me. A lot of the times you see, Thoth players opt into this double pen, maybe like the Soul Gem. I think we see both. There's a school of thought that loves that single pen Soul Gem. There's a school of thought that like is addicted to Deso Magus. He's definitely a poke god either way. What do you think about this Book of Thoth? Because it's not something we see as much.
Maybe I'll have to think about. Never mind. I thought Slate was about to go ballistic on Snick Burrito, but he's not there for lunch just yet. I don't know. Yeah, never mind. We're talking about the fight. Here comes DJ with the Yamoja ult, and he's got nothing. The Riptide couldn't get him out of that one. Snick Burrito takes the pick. Now, back to the Book of Thoth. As an item, Book of Thoth is sick. It does a ton of damage. It sets up really well for the rest of the items that you want to build as a mid laner, but it's really, really slow. Here goes the elbow. Solar Shield goes in as Slate Biscuit looks for the kill. Petrify just out of range. Solar Shield trying to run away from this red buff invade. There's the shell as well. Matt does whiff the dash, and the overhand smash takes him to town as Slate Biscuit might get sniped out. Thorin over the top, Shinzu on the front side, 2 for 1, and did they get the red? No.
I don't think so. And for sure, wants to pick up the gold fury there. But with the other rotation, you know, Kuchu, not Cthulhu, rotating as well. Both teams, you know what? Let's just go back to the farm game. That was working. So a lot of skirmishes, and I will say both junglers seem to be feeling a bit more urgency. Like you said last game, it was very slow. This game, a lot is being started both around DJ and around the junglers. And so it'll be interesting to see, because right now, I think the Mad is Bad have a huge farm advantage. And I don't really think it's necessarily off kills or necessarily off just first blood. They've got a genuine farm advantage right now. So it's going to be interesting to see if they opt to use that to keep farming, or if they're going to try to start leveraging that into fights. And then on the other side, is Legion going to be able to catch up? And if so, what side of the map do they look to catch up in?
Certainly good questions, and this late game Thoth build is certainly one way that you can look for that. As a good Agni Stun comes out, Ganesh says you don't get to move, and Snack Burrito gets another one. This Agni pick is looking pretty impressive. People stepping up and getting Agni Stunned is always a bit scary. Slate Biscuit, though, kind of straight from across Shin's damage as the red buff is pulled. Tenkyo, though, has made the rotation. Teknyo, excuse me, whatever his name is. As the red buff will be secured by the red team.
Let's just rename AG Legion to AG Awkward names, and
yeah,
we'll
no
make
kidding.
it up for you. But yeah, that's a good rotation by Techie. A lot of pressure. Matt is doing a lot to, you know, keep Legion honest here, pulling a lot of people over to defend these red buffs, and that's allowing a lot of free farm for Thorin over here on this Rama, and we've seen how devastating a Rama can be.
Rama, of course, one of the best physical hunters in the meta at the moment. Cthulhu has made some fast rotations, Enforcer has, but it seems like the fights just haven't lined up, and Scandal hasn't really been in the game thus far. It's mostly been the 4 players on the left-hand side for Med is Bad, but it's going to be interesting to me once these soul laners start to become involved, because both of them are on picks that can be very impactful.
Absolutely. And I think it's going to be really interesting around the objectives here. Dash already used to start this, but DJ takes so much poke from the bombs there. Shells popped.
Ooh.
So is every ultimate. And, I mean, Oris are down, and blue team got Oris. This got to be a good look for Mad is Bad now.
Well, Snack Burrito had to blow his beads, though, because he got caught looking at Medusa with her mask off, and she wasn't too happy. River's Rebuke doesn't trap the elephant, folks. He can dash right through the water, as Scandal's made the rotation, as well as Enforcer. A big Dharmic Pillars, though, as Thorin's going to walk in on the side. Enforcer still in the front line, as Solar Shield blinks in the back and drops the elbow on the support player. Enforcer is huge, stopping Thorin from doing what he would like to do, as the Fear No Evil is big as well. Tekio dashes in to look for some damage, but so far, nobody's died and the healing is big. Never mind.
Well, you had to open your mouth.
The hell out of him.
You had to open your mouth. Rama gets those snipes. Now it's a 4v5, but just about everyone from the side of Mad is Bad is pretty low. That's technically a 1-for-0 trade. They technically got oracles, but that was quite the skirmish. I'd like to see a bit more target focus, I want to say, from both teams. Both teams, the junglers are looking at someone, then the front line's looking at someone, then the back line's looking at someone. I think it's very interesting to me. I think both teams right now need to be talking about linking up. But what you said earlier, I do want to talk about that. Remove obstacles is a thing. Ganesha Dash, many people don't know this, can go through any player-made wall.
In fact,
goes through Odin. Sorry?
You said it can go through walls. It does. It always does.
It does. It does every
can.
single time. 100% of the time. You are correct. But yeah, so that's something that a lot of people don't really remember when playing against Ganesha until they get punished for it. And that's exactly what we just saw around that corner there. DJ say, hey, I want to initiate. And Matt goes, with what? Great play from Matt. Honestly, really interesting draft. I think, you know, even looking for the farther we go into this, the more I really love the draft. Anytime there's a single person diving, Agni stunning them, Rama's crippling them, Matt's able to split the team fight so well, able to get out of Yamoja ults. Been really good so far.
Maybe it's time for the pop quiz here for Kingdon, our producer man on the camera. I'd like to see player healing if we can flip to that, because I'm really interested to see where DJ is. I'm interested to see where Enforcer is. Yeah, so it's 1,500 healing from Yamoja, which isn't a ton, but it's still pretty impactful in the early game. And 300 healing from Cthulhu isn't nothing either. He's probably getting a 3 off in his ult there and popping out on his team. The Gold Fury is pulled by Legion. We'll see if Mad is Bad can get in here. Here comes the front line, though. The stuns are down from Yamoja. River's Rebuke goes down as Solar Shield claims Enforcer before the fight even starts. Dark Pillars on the front side as Scandals walk forwards with the Thorns. 2 kills go down for the jungler on Matt's team. DJ is pushed out on the side as Scandal dives him, claiming another for Thorin, as this might be some towers if they had some creeps.
Just grouped a bit too close were AG Legion. On that gold, they did manage to get the Gold Fury, but then the backclip invulnerability out of Solar Shield has been so insane. It was able to immune the Medusa ult and keep diving, keep walking forward, and 1 for 3+, you know, getting good position, getting good control. Legion did get the Gold Fury, but they ended up taking a net loss there.
Legion looking to play around objectives here, and they're certainly getting them, but maybe using a lot of abilities on the objective. It's hurting their fight chance. Solar Shield's doing a ton of work, though. And I know Snack Burrito is clearly the top damage man, and Solar Shield is below quite a few of his team. But he's making a lot of space on this level 14 really Robin. He's essentially a frontliner with Sledge at this point.
Absolutely. With his ult working to make him tankier, the invulnerability almost being perfectly timed every time. And then on top of that, you've got the amount of follow-up that he's got. That's the other thing to realize, right? Frontline creating space doesn't matter if nothing's done with that space. And Snack Burrito, and especially I want to say Thorin, even though he doesn't have quite as much damage, his snipes have been insane. Really good follow-up and really good execution so far from Mad is Bad this game. I have one question, though. I think this is the singular first time I've ever seen an ADC with Oracle Chalice before 15 minutes. Sure. Is this something that we saw last game?
I don't remember. Frankly, I wasn't looking at Oracle Chalice because I don't think it matters that much. I'm guessing he just had the gold for it, and he knows he's buying 2 wards every time he comes out of base for the rest of the game, and thinks he's coming out of base, I don't know, whatever, 8 times. It makes it worth it.
Yeah, enough times, yeah, for sure. It's interesting to me because a lot of times that does intend to delay power curves a bit, especially you know, on a DPS character, on a support, someone who's always splitting farm. It doesn't matter quite as much, you'd think. But we got a little bit of aggression here. DJ gets poked out.
He's
poked down. DJ is gone.
Yeah, Yamoja can get picked if you're not careful. Riptide is really, really good for getting you out of dodge, but he didn't have a time to get out of dodge because he was silenced, stunned, silenced. Dark Pillars in the mid lane. That's huge. I think that just did like literally 60 billion damage. Scandal's gonna dive and clean up the kill, but that is all on the Elephant.
Absolutely, and we just had a rage that was finished on the last back that is now fully stacked.
It's fully stacked, yeah.
It is now fully stacked.
Uh-oh. Caught you looking, though. Petrify hits 3, a huge ultimate coming out from Tekio on his pick, the Medusa. His Enforcer will push people off a little bit here. The Cthulhu pick has not looked as impactful as Amaterasu, but at the same time, he hasn't really had a chance to play the game. The team fight on gold, he died before he got his ult off, and there he's ulting to save a tier 2.
Absolutely. And I definitely think right now, with almost every single one of these fights being started by DJ dying, I kind of wonder why he didn't opt to look for the Oni Hunter's garb. Second, we do see a lot of, you know, Yamoja players building that item. I think it's a pretty solid item. But then if you look at, you know, hey, where's their damage coming from? And then you realize, oh, every single time I die, it's because Agni, Ganesha are just 100 to 0ing me. I feel like that Oni Hunter's garb would allow him to play as aggressively as he wants to, without necessarily just getting picked on cooldown. But now Slate is spotted out and Matt is on the prowl.
Matt's on the prowl, but his team's not quite there yet. He's going to be... I guess takes half his health, and he might be dead now because Scandal's on the backside, and the Dark Pillars are blown. Slate Biscuit maybe caught with his pants down there a little bit. He's dead.
Great silences, great catch.
Uh-oh.
DJ gonna get picked there, but in the back line, we've got the dive going on, double dive, Scandal and Solar Shield both go in.
Enforcer on the front side, though, that's big man mode for him. The other big man mode is Scandal, and Scandal's the bigger man at this point. He's no longer transformed. Oh, yeah, never mind. Now, and he just deformed. It is close enough for my call. And Shin hanging out under tier 2, staring down a very angry Kukulin, who is not going to let him get close enough to do anything to the rest of the team. He is looking like Benji out here on this game.
Absolutely. He's been very impactful so far. Great job. But again, I just want to iterate, even with the only 3-2 scoreline, Snack Burrito has been so impactful this game. And then also we see Thorin. Thorin kind of came in, got some last hits with his ultimates, wasn't really doing that much. And then these past 2 fights, he's been 100-0ing whatever was in front of him without ever sweating. He's not getting dove in return. There's no pressure being output onto that backline of Matt is bad. And I think right now... Sorry, go ahead. You're fine.
I have to point this out again because it was in game 1 as well. Both hunters going crit builds, which is fine. Crit builds are cool. I'm really surprised though that Thorin is doing as much as he is. He's got 0 pen into a Cthulhu who's running at him with thorns, and it's just the level lead that's carrying this right now. If he didn't have a 2-level lead over Enforcer, Enforcer would be owning him. So I'm really interested to see what this next item is. Is it going to be a Chen's? Because that's a great item into Cthulhu, but then you don't have any pen. Is it going to be an Exy? It's kind of weird because that item got nerfed to the ground, and they aren't really that tanky for the Executioner, but you need something. So I'm really interested to see where he goes.
Absolutely agree. I'm definitely in the you need something category. But I did talk to Techie after last game. I was kind of curious after this game 1. We did see both going for pen for crit, and he said it was a specifically against this team thing. Most of the engagements tend to be very big, very burst engagements. And I was like, well, there's a VOM, and you realize that like the character you're playing first off. For those of you who don't know, Medusa has 100% steroid in her one, and you can just hold it and use all of your abilities and get silver wrench power. It's great. It's super fun and interactive. I'm like, you know it's a thing, right? He said, yeah, but here's the deal. If I can just crit whatever's in front of me, that's going to be even quicker there, and all the engagements have been fairly quick so far. Looking at game 2, I have to kind of agree with him. Just about every engagement has been an execution for one side or the other so far.
Solar Shield looking to zone with his body up there between the 2 tier 2s, as this one will fall to Thorin and the boys. But this might be a fight. Shin's dash is down, and the Dharmic Pillars will ensure that Enforcer can't quite get in there with his team, but that means there's no Dharmic Pillars for this fight, Glacier. Here comes the River's Rebuke. That's a 3-man Petrify. Enforcer's in large man mode, and Hunbots hasn't even arrived yet. Lots of damage coming out, and there's the Fear No Evil onto Matt. Scandal's in there deep, but nobody else can follow. Snack Burrito pouring out damage on the front side, but Thorin just can't get through Enforcer. Solar Shield is somehow 1v3 in the backline, killing people. I don't know how he does it. He ulted into the backline. He's killing the jungler. He's getting another kill. Now I'm starting to see Robin first pick. Maybe for this guy, it works.
Bloodforge shields. Bloodforge shields. I'm not even trolling. That man has been so functionally tanky off that. And at first I wanted to say it was a great... Oh, where did Tekio go? Great delete there. I wanted to say that it was a great defense, but then there's just no damage going on in the backline. It's all on tanks, and so Snack is going to keep walking forward, Matt's going to keep walking forward, and Squishies are still full health at the end of this elongated engagement. This started at the T2 and mid, keep in mind, folks, and it looks like the game might be done.
Well, Legion fall in game 2, so it's a 1-1 scoreline for the finals in this division. Matt is bad claimed this one, and I gotta say, Matt looked so much more comfortable on the Ganesh than the Hercules. On the Hercules, it seemed like he wanted to make a lot of solo plays. He wasn't really playing with the boys. He said, I'm Hercules, I'm gonna do it myself. And in this game with Ganesh, his ults were very, very good. His ults felt impactful, his abilities felt impactful, and even though we didn't quite get to figure out what Thorin ended up building, he was doing a lot based on the lead that he had and the fact that his team was able to put this one down so quickly. And Scandal looked infinitely more successful in this game on the Cullen than on the Vamana.
Absolutely. Way better execution, way better comfort. Was good all around. It'll be interesting to see what changes are made, because last game, we saw a little bit of discomfort, and then Matt is bad, made some adjustments, came back and rocked them with this draft. So what changes are we going to see in the next one out of Legion?
I mean, I don't know, because Legion went from a very objective comp to a very team fight comp. Maybe they go back to the objective comp, Glacier, but you know what? I prefer not to speculate. I think we let the P's and B's speak for themselves. We'll go to a break, folks. We'll be back in just a few minutes with game number 3. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's game number 3 of the Savages division. Illy here alongside Glacier 88, not 98. It's 88. There's 2 8s, not 1.
You're only 10 off, man. You're good.
Yeah, it's close enough. For horseshoes, hand grenades, and a game 3. One team wins both game 1 and 2, so 1-1 is the record. Legion taking the first game by storm with their objective comp, and Matt is bad taking the second game off of a huge XP lead early and a more team fight style. So we'll see what game number 3 brings. Glacier, you know these teams better than I do. Are we expecting kind of those styles from these teams, or is one
I would be
odder than the other? Or
I'm not really surprised by too much coming out of Matt is bad. I'm not gonna say they're limited in their god picks, but they usually run a comp that looks very similar to any other game plan that they run. Legion,
which
however,
is strange because their game 1 and game 2 drafts are very different.
the drafts usually end up being very different, but the way they try to play the game isn't. And so I think when they draft like they did that game with the pick, with the team fight, with the great dive, they have really great success. And when they don't, they try to play the exact same way, and it's a little bit more rough for them, like we saw in game 1. I think it'll be interesting. The biggest thing I'd like to see is I'd like to see Tekio, as much as the Medusa might be a pocket pick, I'd like to see him on something a little bit higher up in the meta, unless there's a very specific counterpick reason for go back on that god for a third time.
So it looks like we do have some more technical difficulties with the P's and B's. So I don't know that we're actually going to get a P's and B's screen for this one, folks. So we'll probably end up going straight into game, but we'll at least run through the picks that have been made. And it looks like on the side of Matt is bad, we've got Yamoja, we've got Rom, we've got Snack Burrito back on the Agni, which I love. We've got a Hunbots. We're waiting on the last pick. It's Kakulin again. It looks real similar.
So they literally just swapped support jungle with Legions from last game. Legion looks like they top picked the Ravana back to get it in themselves, and I know that's something that Slate's at least as equally as comfortable on as Solar Shield has been. And it looks like rather than Ganesha, they're going to take the Jing Tian, which, you know, throughout history has been a very much, oh, you want to kill Yamoja, Jing Tian goes well here. Kind of pick.
You know what I'm looking at, though?
What are you looking at?
Ladies and gentlemen, Enforcer is in the house and he's back on Amaterasu, ready to run at your face and kill your hunter.
That's going to be big.
That's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be big. There's not a huge amount of peel. I think probably self-peel, probably, you know, escape as much as you can. Hopefully they have the emoji ult to use. But yeah, Enforcer on this Amaterasu should be able to have a very big impact. And then we were talking about Tekio switching to something that's a bit higher up on the meta. What about what dominated meta before this one? We've seen a shift towards Rama. We've seen a shift towards Cupid, the magical ADCs, after this patch. But think about before that. We've got Hu Yi. Everyone was playing Hu Yi top pick half the games, and he's pulled that out. I haven't seen him play it in a while. Do you like it into the enemy draft? What do you think?
I think with the HP items being very strong, Hu Yi certainly makes sense with his ability to do % damage on his second ability mark of the Golden Crow. But it seems like we do have a few more tech issues, guys, so we're going to have to throw this back to a break before we get into the game, and we'll see you there in a minute. And we're in game. Hardly any break at all. Perfect timing. Everybody is happy. So Glacier, we get into this one, and I'm looking at the team comps, and all I see is CC. It is going to be so hard to be literally anybody, because if you get hit by one thing, there's like a 80% chance you just don't get to play that fight.
I'm actually really shocked to see this Yamoja not start with beads, especially after we saw last game how easy it was to abuse a Yamoja. But that shell should be able to hopefully come in handy for her. We'll see.
I mean, it is true that last game Yamoja got abused. I don't know whether that was a Yamoja problem or human error,
or a little bit of user error.
Yeah, but whichever way it is, you got the good old-fashioned purple buff star Ricochet. I guess that he had a triple bounce lineup there. It just seemed, I guess, a little slow. But Yamoja is gonna win that anyway. They call the audible and say, "Yeah, I know we used the hog, but I don't feel like fighting Yamoja at level 1." And they do the big harpy anyway.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily wrong. They're not gonna miss a single creep, and they'll both units will be on 2. They'll be solid to go there. It's gonna be really interesting because last couple games we've seen Solar Shield on this Raven. And now that it's in Slate hands, it's going to be interesting to see both what Solar Shield does and then how it compares as well to what when Slate has it, how it compares to what Solar Shield
Let's just see how the junglers do on each other's picks.
English is pretty hard sometimes, huh?
Keep it simple, stupid. That's my motto. And in the duo lane, we certainly seem to be matching that at least a little bit. No buff invades from anybody. Everybody's perfectly happy to take their non-existent pressure in all of their lanes, eat their buffs, and go home happy. This might be another 10-minute first blood.
We'll see. I'd be shocked to see Hunbots not look to come over to duo lane and try to ult someone as soon as he hits 5, or maybe look at this
double level 2 gank. Is this a 3v3 Glacier? It seems like Solar Shield gets here first. Slate Biscuit looking for a weird raptor.
Both junglers wrapping behind.
Dude, this is that Spider-Man meme. They're looking in the mirror. Thorin dashes away, and Tekio goes in. I don't think anybody's dead here yet, except Solar's here. And
Solar
this
came
is
back.
just the wackiest 2-minute jungle gank I have ever seen.
Oh, Lord. Hey, don't worry about it. We're just testing them. We're just seeing if they're gonna be here or not. That's all.
It's gonna be a purple invade, right? Because Slate Biscuit's side at least has a little bit of bonus health in this instance. But Matt's coming in. I mean, Yamoja's pretty scary. You get a Riptide to set up the double stun as Solar Shield starting to tee off. Thorin hits the Astral Arrows, and Matt is gonna die trapped by 3 people. But hey, at least they get the purple buff.
I was gonna say, they do lose first blood, but at least they are able to defend that buff. Now, jungle side farm has been up for a little while, so we'll probably see both junglers kind of looking to head back, get their get their power curve, and get back on that farm timers. Solar Shield will probably be a little bit behind in the gold department, but he's able to pick up those oracles that should help negate it just a little bit.
We'll see what he backs for when he does end up heading back to base. The red buffs spawning relatively soon as well. There's been no blue pressure. That's actually something that surprises me, and maybe it's just a playstyle difference. But in ranked, in SPL, and in SCC, we see a lot of emphasis put in the solo lane on making sure that one player or the other gets the lead. But in this matchup, Amaterasu v Kukulkan, it seems like neither jungler is willing to try to gank there or try to put pressure on blues.
I think it's going to be something that if it's not done at some point, I think Enforcer on this Amma might get too big to deal with, right?
Yeah.
Because Amma definitely doesn't have the pressure that a Kukulkan has. She's able to stalemate almost any lane, don't get me wrong. But putting her behind would be a big thing for Matasbad.
And I guess it makes sense because there's no Guardians in this game. But it was one thing that was kind of tickling the back of my mind in game number 2 with a Cthulhu, right? You usually want to try to put a Cthulhu behind it. He ended up being behind anyway, but it was less because his blues were getting invaded and more because the enemy hunter was just massive.
Yeah, I think both of these teams are really more focused on the dual lane and on those the squishies specifically, both the mid and the duo really. But it looks like both are starting from the mid. There's
Dash comes out, drops the elbow. Slate Biscuit gets one. And Solar Shield says, take my pick, I'll take your life. Don't dive my mid laner, buddy, as the Monkey Bounce comes out as well. She's a monster, and she's got some skates. As Tekio's going to come in and look for the bounce, but full Omi means that Matt is free to yeet himself right out and out of there.
Absolutely. Matt has been very good with the Omi usage for the most part. I think the one time we saw him really get low that it mattered was on that purple. But Yumo just so difficult to kill when she has those Riptides up. You can't cripple them. You can't deal with them any way other than making sure she can't get to it. And very, very good disengage tool.
Which is hard because she can place them literally on her feet.
It's super fun and interactive. Definitely, it was funny because when the character was first released, the level of over-tuning her 2 had received was insane. The heal, it was a medi and a shell every single time you cast it. It was ridiculous. But they nerfed that pretty hard pretty quick, and everyone's still like, oh, her 2, her 2, her 2. And I'm like, have y'all read her 1? Her 3? Her
Enforcer.
abilities?
Enforcer and Slate Biscuit looking for maybe a fight, but here comes the police. Woo, woo, woo. Slate Biscuit able to escape with 1 HP, and the Twiddlies from the Emoja one are unable to successfully put him down, as Enforcer will lose the blue buff to Matt is bad on the invade. DJ fine in the mid lane, fine with quotations over it, because he's going back to base in an ambulance, but lives to tell the tale.
And now in this matchup, especially with Thorin, if he decides to go into the Rage Poison Star build again, I feel like we're gonna look to see Teki should be able to take the trades here.
Uh-oh, Thorin walks back up when his roll is down, and Tekio says, I got boots, baby. He takes the 1v1 early before the Devos are stacked. That's about the only time going this build that you're going to have an advantage, so good to see him taking advantage of his advantage. I said advantage a whole heck of a lot, but hey, I guess that's just one advantage of being a caster. Nobody cares what you say, as long as you say it good. Slate Biscuit goes in, and Solar Shield is angry still that he doesn't have his favorite Robin in his hands. Snack Burrito looking for the poke over the wall as the red buff invade comes out. 4-man grouping. Here comes the Whirlwind of Rage and Steel. Snack Burrito's beads will be forced.
And that's a big relic cooldown for the side of AG Legion to have Ravana, Jingtian, especially with a rotation. If this Amma looks to make a rotation over for gold anytime soon, it would be a bit early to expect it. But that's a big cooldown, and we see even now Snack Burrito already in danger just from the normal abilities, let alone ults.
Maybe a little bit of fireworks over here in the soul lane on this next blue spawn for Enforcer, but it looks like Solar Shield thinking better of it with his health bar the way it is, and Scandal's Rage Form ultimate is down. So a quick secure here, good rotation by DJ to be sure about the success of that blue buff secure. Talk to me a little bit, Glacier, about the Scylla here. So Shin has decided he's really liking the late game mages. I mean, I don't quite remember what he played in game 1. Oh, it was Oleron. That's
I think
right.
it's Olo, yeah.
Yeah, so we went Oleron into Thoth, into Scylla. I mean, this guy's god pool is like 40 minutes, right? Like, it's crazy.
The artillery, and he's building for it too. Got the Mage's Blessing, going the Book of Thoth after boot. And I love the fact that he's not just straight rushing Thoth. That delays so much. Now, will he get his huge power on as early? No. But when he hits that 3-4 items, he's going to be a lot more cohesive. And I think it's going to be something that's interesting, because that's a win or lose scenario just off that. If Scylla is able to be exploited before she comes online, very difficult for her to get back in without a cohesive team effort. So it'll be interesting. I'd like to see DJ right here. Obviously, holding this farm is great, but I'd like to see her get a lot of solo farm this game.
Yank attempt on the Scandal. He's still got the dash. Maybe he didn't. Drops the elbow with the dazzling offensive from Enforcer. silence to stop the dash preemptively, but maybe out is Scandal under the tower. Slate Biscuit doesn't want to let it go, though, as there's another 1v1 attempt on the left-hand side, as there's a Jing Chen ult in mid. By the way, the Soul Laner lived. Snack Burrito's getting tossed like last year's laundry, but he's still alive, as I'm a Monster's off the mark. And the solo attempt in the left lane, by the way, was unsuccessful. Okay, Glacier, I'm done. Tell me what happened.
Hi, how's it going? So every lane would like to fight all at the same time. Best of luck, production. Snick, Wrigley, wiggling around, gave him the old shake and bake, stepped up, almost was able to get both. If Shell was up, he may have been able to get a 1v2 kill there, but off that pressure, he doesn't have to back. He's going to stay. He's got the healing. Matt's going to pop in, Solar's going to pop in, and that's going to be a tier 1 tower at 10 minutes in the mid lane. That's huge for Matt pressure. The only potential negative side is if Matt has to step up to get farm, if Snick has to step up to get his farm, that does make them a bit more susceptible to ganks, but it does just about everything else you want it to. It gives them huge pressure on the map for the Gold Fury.
And Tekio, of course, looking for the 1v1 on the left-hand side is good to show his confidence level in that matchup. I'm not sure that Houyi wins this with when he's down Devo stacks because he rushed the boots, but he's looking for it anyway. So, I mean, good on Thorin to stay even in the XP department. Looks like the 1v1 earlier didn't cost him that much. And Tekio maybe with a half-level lead. It's going to be interesting to me. We were talking about ADC builds earlier. It's going to be interesting to see where that goes.
Looks like Solar's over here to force this tower. Not gonna take any effort really there. Enforcer's just chilling here. Both junglers are really more than content to mostly leave Soul Lane alone.
Here comes Slate Biscuit. Looking for a little bit of action on this blue buff, maybe. It's not up, though, so maybe he's just looking for people. By the way, Gold Fury's on the map. And a dash from Shin tells me that they probably know this is happening. So do the Oracles, by the way. And this is a 3v3. DJ may be looking for a Jing Chen ult, as Enforcer's made the rotation as well. I need dash away, but Snack Burrito might not be out of this one. Here comes the washing machine, throwing in Matt into the spin cycle.
Oh, huge damage, but it's not going to be enough for the kill. Gold was dropped on the other hand, too. Slate eats the Hunback ult to the face. Snipes off the mark. Everyone's still alive.
Matt's gone.
Well, I cancel that. Had to open my mouth. Matt is the first pick. And you know, we talked about how short the engagements usually were between these two teams. And at game 2, beginning of game 3, not so much.
Here comes the war cry, the spear of mortal pain coming out. Scandals gets one more as the big man pushes forwards. A blink coming in from Solar Shields, maybe looking for a cheeky monkey bounce over the wall. Except that ability doesn't go over walls. Here comes the Gold Fury, though, in favor of Matt is bad, and perhaps the small lead that they've accumulated becomes larger.
That's really interesting to me. Excuse me. It's
exciting game, isn't it?
I feel like Matt is bad stayed too long, and they gave AG Legion a really good opportunity to take something. And then Legion went, hold my beer, and also stayed too long, and gave Matt is bad the Gold Fury. And now we're going to look at the rotation over low mana, but luckily for them, Agni Bombs don't cost mana, and so they're going to be looking at this Pyromancer.
Yeah, you always forget that little fact, don't you, until he's sitting there without a blue bar and he kills you. Matt is bad, might get the pyro, but the fight might be a little spooky. Legion's pushing in here. Slate Biscuit will run down Scandal as Shin claims the support as well. There's the Kukulkan ultimate, but it's not quite enough. You can't heal off a Soul Eater if you don't do damage, and the overhead kick was good to avoid that.
Also on the backside of that fight, DJ was able to pick up Snick Burrito's beads once more. So it's going to look like a little bit more pressure, a bit more even of a trade, definitely. Oh, the root! Oh, the root!
He had to hit that. He saw a train coming, right? The train was literally driving at his face. It was going to kill him, and he put out a hand and just stiff armed him.
Nope. Not today, Satan.
But
Great.
if he misses that, he's just dead, right? I mean, Shin has to hit that ability. Snack Burrito looks for the spicy 1v2 play in mid lane, feeling himself, really trying to take care of that one to get the return kill. It felt like he was probably dead either way. But the
Yeah,
Robin
absolutely.
pick is actually looking really good, and I'm starting to see why the players were prioritizing it so hard. Both teams seem to pilot it very well.
They really do. Both teams seem very, very comfortable and successful with that pick. I'm interested though. It's really odd to me that neither team really has a clear farm advantage, except for in support. And I feel like you've got tiny little micro leads on side lanes. You've got a little lead, half a level lead in the mid lane. But it's really odd to me that the only place where we see a full actual lead is in support with how back and forth this game has gone. You'd think one team would get up on one side, the other team would get up on the other side, but no, it's been back and forth across the map, trades. And so I'm curious as to when the seesaw is just gonna tip over that point where it doesn't come back. We've been going back and forth.
And-
Where is it gonna tip?
And that's what we saw in game 1 and 2 as well. It was just one fight, and then boom, the game's over. So I mean, yeah, these two teams seem to balance things on a knife's edge, and it really does come down to execution in a team fight. And it's relic tracking, it's ult tracking, it's player positioning, and if you screw it up once, you lose.
Yeah, absolutely. Slate looking for the invade, unable to quite finish it off. Barb Spears again. But look at the wards. I'm really happy. Both teams with a lot of vision all throughout the jungle.
Ooh.
Oh,
Perhaps we meant to blink.
someone thought they had blink on that key. Somebody, now I'm not going to point any names at DJ L4, but someone thought they had blink bound to
We've all
that
done
key.
it. Matt stepping forward, gonna get bounced there, and he found his ult key, but he didn't find the blink one earlier. DJ's pretty weak as the Snack Burrito pushes his way in, dealing some damage onto DJ. Shin over the wall, dealing a little bit of damage, but all that for a red invade, and I mean, I guess it worked. Nobody picked it up, so I bet they got it.
It did absolutely end up working. I'm just curious, something that I noticed. What is the Ama build? Like, when you see Ama, what 3 items are you thinking about? Because for me, I just want to check and make sure I'm not going crazy. For me, Berserkers, Shogun, Sledge. Those are the items that, like, every Ama's always building. Enforcer, nah, that's not alpha enough for him. He's already got a Frostbound. Is this odd, or is this, something that you've been seeing as well?
I mean, I think it makes sense specifically in this game. Thorin has been a diehard crit building, and has also been adamant that he doesn't want to build Pin. So if he doesn't want to build Pin, and he doesn't want to build Kins, and he just wants to build crit, sure, Frostbound works real well if you're going to go kill that guy. So I think it makes some sense, and if he's going to be diving the ROM, and you're going to have a bigger lead over the mid laner, and Snack Burrito hopefully isn't going to be bombing you anyway. So if you can dodge Snack Burrito, and if all you're doing is diving Thorin, yeah, the build makes a ton of sense.
I just realized Thorin's level 16 and only has 1 active so far. I'm interested to see.
He's been out on the map for a while.
I'm curious. Like, let's look at his golden hand, because I'm curious if that's just because he's not backed for like 4 or 5 levels, or if it's something else. But if we could see his golden hand real quick.
Maybe we'll see it after the fight, though.
Oh
As Scandal
my.
gets rooted out for he's got 2,600 golden hand. This is a very rich Ho Yi. And Thorin's got 2k as well. Here comes the fight, though. There's the Suns throwing down. Scandal's getting poked as DJ and Enforcer are as well. Oh, by the way, the jungler's 1v1, and Slate Biscuit flexes Solar Shield Zone pick right back at him. Gold Fury's going to be pulled. The Snack Burrito might look for a little flank around the side. A monster will get the Fury, but here comes the backside as Matt will be killed on the front. And there goes the snipes. Tekio, Enforcer, Thorin. I'm reading off the names because the kills keep coming down. It's 1 for 3, 1 for 4 in favor of Legion. And here's that knife's edge, and it seems to have tipped.
Yeah, you know when we were talking about that fight that decides the game? I found it. Great start. Matt, the fact that he didn't instantaneously die there was really really good. He was able to get out. His Riptide blocked off 2 dashes to help, you know, on the pick against him. But then the follow-up just wasn't there. Slate was able to hit the Slate. Honestly, the solo kill was huge there because then Slate was able to blink the backline free. And I think that's the big difference in the fight, really.
Glacier, I was going to start this off by calling out Thorin for not having backed and not getting the other relic. But Tekio had more money than him, so I can't.
Techie has like 700, 800 extra gold in hand. Yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, Chief. Look at the damage, though, now. We've got all of Legion Sans support right in a line. Nope, support got it. All right, there we go. Good Furious Roar. Good Furious Roar, DJ. But Snake Burrito and this Kakulin both doing a ton. Unfortunately, on the other end, though, not too much damage output yet from either this Hoonbot or the Rama.
Hopefully Thorin will now have a chance to shine. He's just managed to finish his Poison Star, so the crits might be a little more impactful now.
I don't really
But still no
understand.
pin. So he's not going to be able to deal with Enforcer. Enforcer will win that 1v1.
So the Poison Star is the I'm getting dove and I don't want to die item. It's an item that you fit into crit builds regularly when crits have been in meta recently. But what I don't understand is it's a Ravana. I feel like the Poison Star just loses so much efficacy when the person diving you isn't like an auto attacker. It's gonna be interesting. Frenzy popped on this FG and it looks like it's gonna be contested.
Rom snipes, looking for the fight. AG Legion. Shin gets it with the Ammo Monster from the Scylla pick, and there's a Fear No Evil. Solar Shield will pick off Enforcer. There goes the auto attacker that Thorin was worried about. So here comes Slate Biscuit getting a kill. Tekio gets a kill. Thorin's still down, folks, and DJ cleans up another on the support pick. You may have not gotten the fire. You may have tried to take the fight. Legion will win the fight regardless. Here comes DJ trying to tank up the tower for his team. Roots on roots on roots. The good news is Snack Burritos respawned. The bad news is there's
Snake
4
Burrito
fire
wasn't
giant
dead.
people
Snake
pushing
Burrito
down.
was split pushing left. The mage that's all their damage, instead of coming to the team fight and playing with his team and team fighting, was for whatever reason split pushing left. He did get the tower, and they've got waves pushing into T2, but that's a little bit of an awkward decision for me.
Well, it's an awkward decision. I don't necessarily mean that the split push is bad. The team may have decided we can't win the fight, so go try to get something. But then it's a weird decision on the team, because then the team decided to take the fight anyway. 3-man Fear No Evil. Solar Shield tries to get a kill, but he doesn't have a Heart Seeker yet, and that doesn't quite do it. Just barely not enough damage coming out of the Hunbots to get a triple kill.
Yeah, that was huge. That was absolutely huge. But fire regen, in health regen, they're not really too scared. They're gonna keep going. Enforcer full health, has the auras, gonna keep walking up. They're gonna look to strip these towers.
Here comes Scandal into the backline, dazzling offensive. We're gonna pretend like it doesn't matter, because it really doesn't. Shin gets a kill. I don't know where he was. I don't know what he used, but one man's dead and Shin is happy.
Absolutely, and Shin and Teki both popping off this game. I think last game we really saw frontline idea was there, execution was not, and they weren't able to really execute on the characters that they late drafted for that backline. This game, they don't have that issue. Both characters with good escapes, both characters with good self-peel, both characters with great follow-up, and it's working a lot better this game for AG Legion. Bad is bad. I don't want to say they're out of this game, but let's just put it this way. Their way back into this game is not an easy one.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at almost a 10k lead. There's significant experience deficits, and it's not getting any better.
15,000 experience deficit.
And they're meaningful too, because I think there's only one level 20, maybe 2 level 20s on the side of Legion. So
yeah,
these 3 now, as I eat my own words, and I'm sure Enforcer's going to tick 20 off of this wave just to make me hate life a little bit more.
Regardless, we're just getting to the 20s.
Right, we're just getting to the 20s. The XP leads are significant. There's 3 level leads in everyone, and Matt is level 13. This Yamoja is ult my backline and push 2 a lot. Here comes the fight, though, as Matt's River's Rebuke hits the front line. Dazzling Offensive is effective in the back line. I'm a Monster goes in for some damage. All ults except Slate Biscuits are used on Legion's side to no kills for either team as the Fire Giant regen will take its effect. Slate Biscuit not in that fight. It was kind of a 4v5 that they tried to push that Phoenix as more poke comes down from the Octi bombs. He'll try to push the mid lane.
One thing about sieging into Yamoja, if her ult's up, you don't get to 5v5 siege. Great placement on the ultimate from Matt. Great positioning fault for the rest of the team. But the issue is when her ult's not up, you can just walk in for free, distract everyone, and Slate's got a great look.
Solar Shield was taking care of the lane that had fire creeps going in from the right-hand Phoenix, so Slate Biscuit was allowed to get the first one. Rom Snipes may be looking for the Amaterasu. Solar Shield will take the last hit on DJ, and a Fear No Evil protects his Hunter's feet as he lands. So the game is still on. Scandal, Thorns, but to no effect, as Tekio will take the last hit on the crippled Cullen.
And now with every single one of these Phoenixes being down, it looks like right Phoenix is going to spawn a little bit before the Fire Giant spawns, but it's going to respawn in that weakened state, only being able to heal up to a portion of its health. I really don't think at this point, without a full wipe, Mad is bad. It is going to be very difficult to get back into this. Great job zoning. Enforcer not able to make the ult count for the hard CC at the end. But the amount of space he controls, the amount of relics that he's pulling every single time he looks to go in, has been super impactful.
3 Phoenixes down for Med is bad. We're talking about ways back in. Certainly it starts at their right hand, I suppose their left hand, our right hand Phoenix, to keep that one up, hopefully. This is a Fire Giant contest that feels difficult to call. I don't think Mad is bad can contest this fire, but at the same time, you feel like you lose the game if you don't. So it's a real tough one, whoever's the end-game leader for Mad is bad here.
Also, notice, I don't actually hate this. They're sending their solo laner out to pick up the solo farm. And does he have a great amount of clear, excuse me? No, not really. But he needs that XP. He needs to get tankier, because the Yamoja's not going to. So getting that guy his solo farm is going to be a pretty big jump out from Solar Shield, but the chase is on!
Here comes the Fear No Evil, maybe defensively there. The River's Rebuke will be defensive as well. I'm a monster over the top, not quite enough to kill Solar Shield, as Matt will be trapped in the front line, frost-bounded to death, perhaps. Tekio and Shinzu, the 2 backliners for AG Legion, will follow up off of DJ's good Jing Channel to get a kill, and the flank from Snack Burrito has not worked this game, I'm afraid, on the Agni pick. Has looked so good in Game 2. Kind of an anticlimactic end, folks, but there it is. Fire Giant to run it down. Thorin looks for the last kill onto Shin, but the team doesn't allow it as the Titan falls and AG Legion takes the win in 3 games.
Really close set, really good games. I think both teams looked dominant, and it really came down to the way the drafts were played each game. All 3 games, there was a bit of draft difference one way or the other, something that was exploitable, and all 3 times the team found a way to exploit it and do it. We didn't say his name too much in a positive light, DJ, especially at that end there, right? Game 2, rough game on the Emoja. But that was a 4-man Jing channel to start that end there. Forced 2 beads, threw other people in. Great start to the fight, great follow-up from the rest of the squad. Strong performance to put this beyond any doubt in this game.
Well, Glacier, that was the 3-game set of which you had 2 games Frog, of course, finishing off the first, and myself, Illy, sitting here in the chair 1 for the games. We appreciate it for everybody for showing up. I hope everyone has a great night and good game. Legion wins.